Thank you very much for that lovely welcome. And good morning, everybody. And of course, it is day 3 of ICDRA, but of course, it's the first day of the regulators only session. Welcome to all our regulators. I'm very proud to be here as the previous host of ICDRA, and I was asked to just give you a few reflections of our Irish ICDRA. But before that, I would really like to congratulate our Indian colleagues in CDSCO and of course the WHO for what has been a wonderful ICDRA so far. So many thanks. And I know they hope it's going to be the best ever ICDRA. So obviously I feel, a little bit that there's been lots of really good ICDRAs, and I've been to 4, and they've all been fantastic, and each one of them is different. So I'm really having a fabulous time and enjoying this one. What I can also tell you, and particularly to my Indian colleagues, is it's much easier being the previous host than the current host. So I'm really relaxing and enjoying myself, but your time will come in 2 years' time. Of course, ICDRA in Ireland should have been 2 years ago, and obviously now it's 6 years ago. So I have a few slides just to remind you as to what ICDRA in Ireland was like. So they're very quick, so don't worry if you were there. I'm not going to repeat stuff you already remember. So there was a lot of green in our branding because Ireland's known as the country that is green, and that's because we get too much rain, but it is lovely. So this slide is just to remind those of you as to where Ireland is. It's a really small island, the most westerly island of Europe. There's nothing but the Atlantic Ocean between us and North America. And we have a population of 5 million. So I'm feeling particularly small here in New Delhi, really quite minuscule. Not that easy to get to either, no direct flights from most countries. So we were really thrilled and proud to have 343 delegates attending and representing 85 countries. So really a fantastic outturn, and shows the effort that people make to get to ICDRA. I'm not going to go through the agenda in any detail because, of course, like here, we had 5 days and we had many themes going through it. There was an overriding theme of smart safety surveillance, and that being a shared responsibility between regulators and industry, and also a focus on the safety of medicinal products throughout the product life cycle. There was also familiar themes that we see, such as regulatory collaboration, convergence and harmonization, and partnership. So these themes echo through all ICDRAs, and of course I think they're the cornerstone of what we're trying to do in these meetings. They also, from the WHO, we saw the pre-qualification program and the WHO strategic approaches to improving access to safe medicinal products. So 5 days of meetings, that's really just a taste. So we held pre-ICDRA, and we had, this is photos from the welcome reception, and we had 3 plenary sessions and 10 workshops, and we actually have quite a big industry in Ireland, manufacturing industry, and we had a good turnout from them as well. And this is the pre-ICDRA regulators welcome reception. It was held in our National Art Gallery, and we just had a little quartet of musicians playing, and it's actually a really old building which you can't see in the photographs, and some fabulous art. So if you ever get to Dublin again, I recommend it. This was the opening ceremony, the equivalent of this in Dublin, and we just had some traditional Irish musicians and singers just doing a little, what we call a trad session. And we were really struck that so many of you found a little bit of Irishness in you, and you got up and you started doing Irish dancing at 9:30 in the morning. So that was a big round of applause to the delegates. It was fantastic. This was our gala dinner, and you may not have known if you were there, you were actually in the Lord Mayor's ballroom, and it's in the centre of Dublin. And I don't know, people remember Riverdance. It's Irish dancers that tour the world. So we had a little mini show which was kind of an extract of river dance and traditional Irish dancers. But we didn't need them because we found out that the delegates are great dancers themselves. So the lovely thing is, and I know we have a fantastic cultural tour today to find out a little bit about India, but we were absolutely privileged to give you, the delegates, a taste of Ireland and Dublin. And on the left-hand side, our closest county is Wicklow, and this is the beautiful Pariscourt House, and it's gorgeous gardens, so that was one of our tours. The middle tour, very popular. If you come to Dublin, it's the Guinness Hop Store, and you learn how they make Guinness, which is our national drink. We don't drink it all the time, or even everyone, but obviously it's very famous as coming from Dublin. And finally, we had a walking tour of Dublin, and in the top picture there, you can see Trinity College, which is the university right in the city centre. And that is it. Those are my reflections of what was a wonderful ICDRA, but I know everyone's memories now will be replaced with this and the fantastic ICDRA that we are having here in India. So thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, for walking us through. We shall now be commencing the program shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Minister Madam will be joining us shortly. Meanwhile, as we start the program, I request all the dignitaries to please join us on the dais. May I please invite Yukiko Nakatani, Assistant Director General, Access to Medicines and Health Products, WHO Switzerland, to please join us on the dais. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul, Member, Niti Aayog. Dr. Rajiv Behel, Director General, ICMR, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Kimberly Tretiak, Deputy Commissioner, US Food and Drug Administration, USA. Dr. Rodrigo H. Offrin, WHO Representative to India. Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, the Drugs Controller General of India. Dr. Rogerio Gasper, Director, Regulation and Pre-Qualification, Department, WHO. Hiti Silo, Unit Head Regulation and Safety, WHO Switzerland. Welcome dignitaries on the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Minister will be joining us shortly. And once she joins us, we shall be starting with the program. Thank you. Meanwhile, I request everyone to please take your seats and keep your mobile phones on silent to avoid any disturbances. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Minister Madam has marked her way to the hall. Please put your hands together as we welcome Madam Anupriya Patel, Minister of State, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, to the dais. Madam, we welcome you on the dais. It's our immense pleasure to have you with us today. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul, Member Niti Aayog, Dr. Rajiv Bahel, Director General ICMR, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, the Drug Controller General of India, Dr. Rogerio Gasper, Director Regulation and Pre-Qualification Department, WHO, Hiti Silo, Unit Head Regulation and Safety, WHO, Switzerland, Kimberly Tretiak, Deputy Commissioner, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, USA, Dr. Rodrigo H. Offrin, WHO Representative to India, Yukiko Nakatani, Assistant Director General, Access to Medicines and Health Products, WHO, Switzerland. Welcome dignitaries on the dais. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pachantu, ma kashi dukh bhavave. This beautiful Sanskrit quote means, may all be happy, may all be free from illness, May all experience the auspicious, and may none experience sorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, namaskar and a very good morning to each and every one of you present here on and off the dais. I'm your host Diksha Raina, and it gives me immense pleasure and privilege to welcome all the dignitaries to the 19th International Conference of Drug Regulatory Authorities hosted by Central Drug Standard Control Organization, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, in collaboration with the World Health Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, as our conference beautifully states, Aushadam Jagata Setu, derived from the holy scripture of Vishnu Sahasranama, meaning medicine is the bridge to the world. We aim to forge vital connections across the globe in an efficient and productive manner. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's theme is Smart Regulation, delivering quality-assured medical products for all, which underscores our commitment to ensuring global access to high-quality, innovative and affordable medical products. The past 2 days of the conference exhibition have been truly exemplary efforts in this direction. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks the culmination of the pre-ICDRA activities and the exciting start of the ICDRA event. Let us embark on this journey together, fostering collaboration and innovation for a healthier world. Before we deep dive into the fantastic agenda that we have curated for you, it gives me immense pleasure and privilege to welcome our distinguished guests on the dais, and I would request our CDSCO officers to please felicitate our dignitaries. I would invite Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, the Drug Controller General of India, to please felicitate Madam Anupriya Patel, Honorable Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. Let's have a roaring applause, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Annam Visla, to please felicitate Yukiko Nakatani. Madam Meenakshi Vashisht, to please felicitate Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul. Madam K. Bhuvneshwari, to please felicitate Dr. Rajiv Behel. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Sunidhi Chaudhary, to please felicitate Kimberly Trechiak. Dr. Rubina Bose, to please felicitate Dr. Rodrigo H. Offred. Madam Nisha Sankwar, to please felicitate Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, sir. Madam Swati Srivastava, to please felicitate Dr. Rogerio Gasper, sir. Madam Smriti Sharma, to please felicitate Hiti Silo. Thank you, dignitaries, and a very warm welcome again. Ladies and gentlemen, let's deep dive into today's agenda, and to set the context for today's proceedings, it gives me immense pleasure to invite Dr. Rogerio Gasper, Director of Regulation and Pre-Qualification at the WHO, to share his insights. Welcome, sir.
So first of all, let me congratulate our host country. It has been an immense pleasure, and I have to share a personal note. It's my first time in India. I will certainly not see anything about India except the meetings, but I need to come back. I need to come back. So, dear fellow regulators and invited participants, welcome to your meeting. This is where the global regulatory community meets, too long since Dublin, but getting closer to the next one in 2026. Recent years have seen tremendous progress in regulatory systems. COVID-19 crisis showed how regulators can act together, converging in action, supporting emergency responses, but also being enablers for innovation. Let me share with you how WHO and member states articulated the response to facilitate approval of vaccines and other medical products. Just to give you one of many numbers that we could repeat time and time again, and illustrate the effort between WHO and each national regulatory authority involved, the EU-held vaccines were transformed in more than 5,400 national regulatory approvals in more than 140 countries in a period of 18 months. That would never have been possible without the contribution of each of you here in the room, each of you in each of your national regulatory or regional regulatory authorities. Thank you so much. WHO is going to publish in the coming days the GBT+. It will be a new tool for capacity building on the medical devices area. We are expanding from the medicines and vaccines to other health products. This first extension will be after blood products were already considered. This first extension will be on the medical devices. One of the things that, as director of the department, I can promise to the global regulatory community is that we will not wait another 6 years between GBT and WLA. We have learned the lessons, we have tried the processes, we have incorporated improvements, and 2025 will be the year that we'll see WLA Plus coming for the WHO-listed authorities in medical devices. Together, we'll be implementing with WHO also the global module framework for regulating medical devices. Let us take a moment to understand exactly how important it is. So, during COVID-19, and we have to say it in a very clear manner, we had a number of successes. We had successes in vaccines. We had not so good successes in medicines. We had, not related to the regulatory procedures, a number of failures in the inequality of access for vaccines. Vaccines hoarding, according to a study published by Oxford University, was responsible for 1 million of avoidable deaths during COVID-19. But certainly in the regulatory procedures, if there's one area that we know that we can do much better, is on the diagnostic side. So the introduction of GBT Plus and WLA Plus in the coming months, it will be a movement forward, increasing the capacity for response and reducing the inequality in access in diagnostics. And let me say something that is of today, the last weeks and of today. We are fighting for the second time a public health emergency of international concern with Mpox. This time localized on a number of countries in very difficult public health conditions. Vaccines are being pushed forward as one of the tools to fight this outbreak. But we all know that Mpox outbreak cannot be controlled only by the use of vaccines. We need public health measures. We need certainly surveillance and monitoring, and we need the diagnostics to do that. And one of the appeals that I would do today, through the regulators in the room, to the manufacturers and the research community outside the room, we are pre-qualifying or emergency use listing or national regulatory approving a number of diagnostics in these days. We will have 4 diagnostics operationally in the next coming days. But we don't have rapid test diagnostics. And we need the support of the scientific community, we need the support of the manufacturers to develop as fast as possible those much needed tools. The WHO listed authorities framework became a central point of our activities in the last 2 years. Together with the GBT, the Global Benchmarking Tool, and the capacity building all over the world, brought us to a moment that we need to share, but a moment that we need to be humble. We have today 50% of the world population covered by regulatory systems, either in medicines or vaccines, that are according to international standards, functional regulatory authorities, what we normally consider as ML3. But that number is a number in which countries like India or China contribute to the regulatory system for vaccines. But we still need to do a huge work, both in India and China, on the regulatory system in medicines. I'm very glad to understand that the government of India is committed to go on that direction, and the brief exchange of words with the government on Monday allow us to see a future ahead, which is the future that we all want, and in which India will have a decisive role to play also. But the WHO Global Benchmarking Tool is looking at capacity building, is looking at functionality of the regulatory systems. The WHO Listed Authorities Framework is the essential step forward for mature regulators to be global players in global procurement, and in that respect, to be at the forefront of fighting outbreaks, epidemics, pandemics, but also to support the universal health coverage and to, in some way, neutralize the inequities in access that we see all over the world. WLA is here. 36 regulatory agencies from 34 countries, from 33 member states of WHO. We hope that they will be joined by 2 to 4 before the end of the year. We hope that another 3 will join that group before the spring of next year. And others will join, as the transitional WLA framework that was started in March 22 will see its end in March 27. A lot of work to do, a lot of work in which WHO, as always, is the secretariat to support member states. We cannot do it if member states don't do it, but we are here every day, every hour, to support every single member state. The UN governance mechanisms will be used to give further sustainability to the WLA exercise, empowering the member states with regulators achieving WLA in the coming years. That is the work for those already WLA or soon to become WLA during the next 5 years. But the regulatory world is diverse and becoming even stronger. ICH since 1991 and more recently ICMRA show the way forward, and having resisted the stress test of COVID-19 response also showed how to move forward in the upcoming years. Regulatory harmonization, convergence of regulators in the response to global health threats and inequities in access, and the reliance mechanisms are the 3 critical aspects for robust, resilient, and reliant regulatory systems. The world is going through main challenges. I said it on Monday, I will repeat it again. We need peace for health, and we need health for building sustainable peace. But we need also to look at other challenges that humanity is facing and in which regulators need to have a more active role. And one of those certainly is the impact of climate changes. and the need to reduce the carbon footprint on the health sector that is responsible for 5% of the carbon footprint, the global carbon footprint. We need to do it on the products, facing the fact that 40% of the carbon footprint on a life cycle on a pharmaceutical product is the manufacturing of the API. That 17% of that carbon footprint is air freight that we can reduce to 1%, changing to sea freight. Understanding that 4% of that carbon footprint is coming from the packaging, and WHO is mobilized now to conclude the plastics agreement that will need to have also some impact on the pharmaceutical sector. And we need to do all of that without reducing the volumes of manufacturing and the capacity to have access, equal access, without inequities, affordable, quality assured, safe, and efficacious medical products. But regulators and regulatory agencies need also to provide a response in our procedures. Remembering the last 20 years and different attempts of bringing innovation to the pharmaceutical sector that failed, some of them, we have to recognize, failed because of too long times for regulatory review of breakthrough innovations. I think we dealt very well with that during COVID-19, but that was not the case before COVID-19. And as we are going back to a more routine operation without facing emergencies every day, at least we hope so, it's also time to look not only at the digitalization of our processes in the regulatory agencies, but also to build what we call a green highway that would allow innovative procedures, innovative products to come to the pharmaceutical sector, and having, without lowering the standards, without compromising the regulatory evaluation, having a fast approval by regulators. Our view, and we'll be sharing that with other regulators in the coming weeks and months, is to build that green highway that would allow regulators to have an active role, introducing features like the rolling review that we introduced during COVID-19, and bringing regulators closer to innovation. WHO cannot do it. You can do it, and we are here to support and to help you. Thank you so much, and now let's start with ICDRA after this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gasper, for beautifully setting the context. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to invite Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, the Drugs Controller General of India, to please deliver his opening remarks. Welcome, sir.
Good morning. Respected Madam Anupriya Patel, Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare and Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. Dr. V.K. Pal, sir, Member Niti Aayog, Government of India. Madam Yukiko Nakateni, Assistant Director General, WHO. Dr. Rajiv Bahal, Secretary DHR and DGICMR, Government of India. Dr. Kimberly, Deputy Commissioner, USFDA. Mr. Roderico, WHO Rep to India. Dr. Rogerio, Director Regulations and Pre-Qualification, WHO. Dr. Hitti Silo, Unit Head Regulatory and Safety, WHO. Dignitaries, fellow regulators, and delegates sitting in the hall. It is with great pleasure I want to welcome you all to this inaugural session for main ICDRA. Many of you have traveled from different parts of the world to this beautiful country and city of Delhi. I want to thank WHO also to having reposed faith and trust on us and giving this opportunity to host this biggest regulators conference of the world. During inaugural session on 14th, I did touch upon some of the achievements of Indian NRA, its recognition at international platforms, and our commitment towards global public health. I want to continue building on that which I spoke on 14th. On 14th, we heard from Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, J.P. Nadda ji, and our Secretary Health, Government of India, Madam Punya Srivastava, about Government of India's commitment towards global public health. Let me also tell you all that I am very proud to be standing in front of you as head of NRA for a country which supplies 25% of generics demand of United States of America, 40% of total medicines consumed in UK, 60% of global vaccine demand. And I'm sure, along with me, my team also feels that pride. India has established itself in manufacturing and supply of quality genetic medicines at affordable price. Indian companies are at a stage of inflection in biologic space also. We have approved as NRA in India 42 different biosimilar molecules for manufacturing and marketing. And to add to this, last 3 years has seen 49 different biosimilars approved by us to be marketed in India. The history is going to repeat as we did in case of generic medicines for biologics also. We will provide quality similar biologics at affordable price to the world, which already has started from India, and you will see it growing month after month from as we move ahead. Medical device is another sector where we have started regulating the industry, and in the near past, this whole industry has now been regulated. Since we regulated this industry, we have already approved 3,500 manufacturing licenses for production of medical devices of different categories in India to be used in domestic, for domestic patients and for export also. It won't be late when we start exporting quality medical devices at affordable prices for the world and for the good of the global public health. Our close interaction with agencies like WHO, USFDA, EMA, PMDA, and others has helped us develop and upgrade our skills. Thank you all for that, which is helping us today in managing the regulatory value chain with a very strong footing, which is actually serving India as well as the whole world with respect to manufacturing and supply of medicines required for good of the public health. Country has started working towards discovery of new drugs through strong R&D base created by government and government-private partnerships. Initial successes in domains of cellular therapy, software as medical devices, mRNA platform-based vaccine, digital health, all these have given us a confidence that we are moving in the right direction. Regulations are being amended for ease of doing business and supporting innovation. India's strength in technology and clinical is today converging to accelerate the development of digital health technologies, again for the benefit of patients, and in a country like India, where the last mile delivery of healthcare is not easy, these technologies in the space of digital health are the future technologies which will help us bridge that gap of last mile delivery of healthcare. And I'm also saying from here from this podium today that Indian conditions are similar to many countries from where the regulators are sitting here, and I'm sure those technologies which we develop for bridging the gap of the healthcare delivery to the last mile here in India would be very useful for countries which are similar in the social structure and the systems in other countries. All these have started showing results, and we are proud of that. Along with all this, patient safety is also our priority. We have created a strong network of pharmacovigilance activities. We have a strong surveillance system for the medicines which are being sold in the country. We have used digitization in our regulatory processes heavily, which is making the system more and more transparent and building more and more trust among the stakeholders. Proactive measures are being taken to provide systemic correction for the aberrations in the system. Our regulatory strength is a strong knowledge base, adaptability, and continuous improvement. We are moving towards a regime of low on regulation and high on execution. As a country, we feel proud in giving whatever we can. Service is in the core of our culture. Through CERN network, we are supporting countries wherever our skills and knowledge is required. Through our MEA, which is Ministry of External Affairs, multiple programs are run on continuous basis towards capacity building in areas of pharmacovigilance and quality management system for countries where they want to upgrade their system in these areas. Today, we have many more strengths in addition to supplying quality medicines at affordable price. The exhibition during pre-ICDRA would have given you glimpses of our strengths beyond producing generic medicines. IVDs, medical devices, different government initiatives to support public health, and more, which I'm sure all of you would have visited in the first 2 days. From this podium, I'm appealing to the world of regulators and agencies in healthcare domain to use India's strength for the benefit of global public health, which, as I say, has grown beyond only supply of generic medicines. Pre-ICDRA during first 2 days were full of energy, excitement, discussions, deliberations, and the icing on the cake was the food, which I am told was beyond expectation. The feedback which we have been getting from different corners is highly motivating and acting as fuel for my team to continue with the same energy and rigor for next 3 days of the ICDRA starting today. Welcome again to this great country. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, Dr. Raghuvanshi, for your inspiring words. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Kimberly Tricciak, Deputy Commissioner, U.S. Food and Drug Administration, USA. Welcome, sir. Welcome, madam.
Good morning, esteemed delegates, WHO leadership, and CDSCO, as well as our dignitaries. I would like to thank the World Health Organization and the Central Drug Standard Control Organization for their leadership in global public health and for putting together this 19th annual International Conference of Drug Regulatory Authorities, inviting me to speak with you today. For those of us here, it is our important responsibility to ensure that people around the world can benefit from safe, effective medical products. Since 1980, ICDRA has served as the leading platform to improve the access and availability of high-quality medicines. Its mission is very important to FDA. In fact, 44 years ago, FDA hosted the very first ICDRA, and now the WHO has brought us together once again to convene as partners with a common priority of advancing public health through efficient and robust regulatory systems. Together this week, we will focus on how we can use regulation to deliver quality-assured medical products to everyone. At FDA, our long-term vision is for there to be a global marketplace which consistently offers high-quality medical products for consumers and patients, regardless of where they're located. Industry is ultimately responsible for abiding by the regulatory standards set by our organizations, committing to high-quality standards, and delivering safe and effective medical products. However, as regulators, one of the challenges we face is that the supply chains we oversee are dynamic, increasingly complex, and span the globe. We also face new and aggravated threats to product quality and safety, alongside increasing public health demand for these products. As we look toward the future to meet our regulatory responsibilities, we all must adapt to rapidly changing global landscape in which we work. I'm going to focus today on 3 key themes that will enable us to respond to these challenges and maintain a strong regulatory space for medical products. First, risk mitigation. Second, building partnerships among regulatory authorities which rely on and generate similar information to make regulatory decisions. And third, the important potential of regulatory harmonization. Today, products travel from country to country in an increasingly complex path, from raw source materials to finished products. For example, looking at the medical products market in the United States, over 80% of active pharmaceutical ingredient manufacturers are located outside of the United States. And nearly half of the medical devices used in the US have been imported. Risks can arise at any step in the supply chain, whether it's the sourcing of active pharmaceutical ingredients, key starting materials, or other components to make the product. The manufacture, storage, transit, sale, and distribution of medical products involves numerous entities. When unexpected medical product shortages or safety problems arise in one manufacturer, country, or region, its compounded impacts can be felt around the world. These stresses are especially felt during public health emergencies, as we all recently saw with the supply chain challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, industries face increasing economic pressure to grow output, which often happens at the expense of quality. Pressures also include the need for a timely response to emerging public health needs, as well as the need to keep up with changes in how products are being made. As industry practices adapt to meet the demands of an evolving world, the traditional model of batch manufacturing drugs is slowly being phased out in favor of new advanced manufacturing technologies. These changes open up new opportunities and risks for the safety and availability of drug and vaccine products. And as regulators, it is our responsibility to support innovation, but also monitor and mitigate risks for the products we regulate. This all leaves us with a complex regulatory environment and further underscores the need for international collaboration to protect public health and respond quickly and effectively to risks to medical product safety and availability. Because of the complex nature of the production and distribution of the products we regulate, it is impossible for every national regulatory authority to inspect every facility it regulates every year or sample every imported product. Inspecting our way to quality is not a feasible approach. Given that so many pieces of the supply chain impact products, it is more important for all of us to work towards encouraging a culture of quality that carries all the way through the global supply chain. In sum, no regulatory authority can do everything on its own. Every member of the supply chain plays a critical role in its success, whether that's industry developing the product or the federal, state, and local agencies that regulate the marketplace. This is why FDA seeks to develop cooperative partnerships with regulatory counterparts and international organizations like WHO. These partnerships better position FDA and our counterparts to mitigate the numerous risks that could impact access to high-quality medicines and vaccines. One example of regulatory authorities coming together is the member state mechanism on substandard and falsified medicines. This collaboration brings countries together to address the public health impacts of substandard and falsified products, and by doing so, ultimately helps countries around the globe better protect their patients. Finally, I want to take some time to emphasize the power and potential of regulatory harmonization, which I know will be a big part of our conference discussions. As stated by FDA Commissioner Robert Califf earlier this year, it is important for each of our agencies to embrace the essential principles of convergence and the harmonization of regulatory expectations among nations and across areas of medical product innovation. A list of the benefits of international harmonization is long, but here are some of the most prominent. Working collaboratively enables public resources to be used more effectively in the oversight of products we regulate, helps ensure equitable access to medical products, and maintain the integrity of our supply chains, both domestically and internationally. It improves efficiency in the regulatory review process and lessens the time to get a product to market. And finally, it reduces the patient burden by preventing unnecessary duplication of clinical trials and post-market clinical evaluations. The FDA commends the World Health Organization for its continued leadership in driving harmonization efforts. One recent example being the introduction of the WHO Listed Authority Framework. Just last month, the FDA was honored to join regulatory authorities from the European Economic Area, Switzerland, Singapore, and the Republic of Korea in receiving the WHO Listed Authority delegation. The FDA supports the Listed Authorities approach because it sets common standards and furthers international regulatory harmonization and convergence, both of which will facilitate access to products and maintain the integrity of our supply chains, domestically and internationally. By setting up an objective, quantitative framework, this program sets attainable targets for regulators who are still developing their capabilities, while also building confidence and trust in the decisions, methodologies, and oversight from the countries that have gone through the process and become WHO-listed authorities. By leveraging the resources, experience, and expertise of listed authorities, regulators can use their limited resources to focus on critical regulatory responsibilities that need to be addressed locally, such as oversight of manufacturing facilities and laboratories and pharmacovigilance. Such an approach is consistent with seeking to advance to higher maturity levels under the global benchmarking tools, and more importantly, enables regulators to use all the resources available to them to ensure safe and effective products and the protection and promotion of public health. None of us can go it alone. We can all benefit from leveraging the capacities of our counterparts. FDA is committed to enhancing our impact and engagement in the international arena to effectively mitigate public health risks and build strong, durable partnerships where regulators can learn from one another and benefit from cooperation. Achieving our long-term vision of a strong global marketplace is only possible if it is underpinned by strong, consistent, harmonized regulatory frameworks with robust oversight of the global supply chain, and where appropriate, close collaboration between regulatory authorities, including the sharing of information. I look forward to the discussions over the next few days and the steps that we can take together to reach this vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kimberly, for delivering the keynote. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure to invite Madam Yukiko Nakatani, Assistant Director General, Access to Medicines and Health Products, WHO Switzerland, to please deliver her address.
So good morning. So Honorable Minister, Madam Minister, Madam Patel, and then distinguished delegations, and the esteemed speakers and participants, and the dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. So it is a great honor to be here at the opening of the 19th International Conference on Drug Regulatory Authorities, we call the ICDRA. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the government of India for the hosting, for the dedication and the generous hospitality. Also, I thank the organizing the committee with the CDSCO for creating the ambitious agenda, including the both to celebrate the progress since the 18th the ICDRA in Dublin, and tackles the growing complexities in the regulation of the medical products. The issues in front of us reflect the evolving challenges ensuring the timely, equitable access to safe, effective, and quality-assured medical products. Since its inception in the 1980s, ICDRA has been the vital platform for the regulators, policymakers, and the industry leaders to advance our shared mission of the strengthening the regulatory systems worldwide. The 19th ICDRA comes at a critical moment, allowing us to reflect on the lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic, the significant progress made globally. Yeah, this ICDRA is the first in-person ICDRA after the COVID. And also, I believe the Ms. Precious Matsuso highlighting during the pre-ICDRA, member states are engaged in the critical negotiations for the pandemic agreement. One key takeaway from the pandemic has been the urgent need for the resilient regulatory systems that can respond swiftly to public health emergencies while maintaining rigorous standards for safety, quality, and efficacy. ICDRA's role in fostering three systems has been invaluable. I don't want to repeat again because our director, Dr. Gasper, already figured out at the beginning, so I don't say again, but there are huge impact to the public health. Then I would particularly like to congratulate India for its leadership. As the first country assessed against the WHO GBT in 2017, India recently retained the maturity level 3-4 vaccine regulation, a remarkable achievement that opened the door for the future recognition of the WHO-listed authority. Also, this brings the huge impact to the public health as the main procurer of the pharmaceutical to the world. So India is the main the procurer. The huge impact. Thank you very much, the Indian and the Indian government. And also, I'd like to say about the 14th WHO General Program of Work, we call the GPW, is targeting the 2025 to 28, recognize the critical role of the regulators as the gatekeepers of the quality, safety, and efficacy. This is like a safeguarding in the world as the public health area. Then this ICDRA's discussions will align perfectly with this mandate as in the GPW 14th, ensuring every country, regardless of the size of the resources, has access to the regulatory tools needed to guarantee safe and effective medical products. Ladies and gentlemen, the outcome of this, the 19th ICDRA, will shape the future of the global regulatory systems for the medicines and the health technologies. The 2 days of the pre-ICDRA, I'm really missing of the 2 days, but have already set the stage with these discussions from the wide range of the stakeholders. And then these coming 3 days, I'm hoping that we have the very productive, constructive discussion also. Then before concluding, I would like to propose the 3 asks for all of participants. First, please actively participate in sharing your experience, your insights, and exchanging your brilliant, innovative ideas. And the second, please identify your priority actions you should take in coming years in your role, in your place. And the third, please expand your global network to explore new potential partners and also enhance your reliance across the regulated authorities to make more changes in the world. We look forward to the innovative ideas and the tangible actions as output of this ICDRA in this week, which would be the crucial to guide member states and WHO to accelerate its priority responses and actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Nakatani. Ladies and gentlemen, now let's hear from Dr. Rajiv Behel, Director General, ICMR, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Welcome, sir.
Honorable Minister of State, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India, Shrimati Anupriya Patel ji, respected Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Niti Aayog, Dr. Raghuvanshi, the senior team from WHO, Dr. Nakatani, Dr. Gasper, Dr. Silo, Dr. Kimberly from FDA, distinguished delegates. In the next few minutes, I want to talk to you about the crucial role of regulators in health research for indigenous development of affordable medical technologies, and give you a few examples of how India is doing this and has done this in the pandemic. Starting with the pandemic, just 2 quick examples. In the first 3 months of the pandemic, India developed indigenous tests, more than 300 indigenous tests, PCRs and later point-of-care tests at costs that were 1/40th the cost for the rest of the world, only because of our industry, the innovation health research agencies, and the partnership with the CDSCO, the Indian regulator. Similarly, within 9 months of the pandemic, India came up with an indigenous COVID vaccine, Covaxin, which was approved for emergency use by the regulator, again because of such collaboration. We've continued this in the post-pandemic period. Again, a few examples. We have more than 18 point-of-care sickle cell disease tests, as we are now in the process of screening our entire tribal populations for this disease. The Mpox, 3 diagnostics were approved by the CDSCO, indigenously developed in India, validated by the Indian Council of Medical Research, even before the first such test was approved by the World Health Organization. In terms of vaccines, a phase 3 dengue vaccine trial, again a vaccine which with the technology transfer from NIH, but developed and manufactured in India, is ongoing. And a completely indigenous vaccine for Casanur forest disease has been given approval for a phase 1 trial. In the area of therapeutics, Dr. Raghuvanshi has mentioned CAR T-cell therapy, but I would like to mention 6 rare disease drugs that were approved last year it totally indigenously developed and manufactured in India at prices which are 1/100th the prices of such products elsewhere in the world. I'm also very happy to report that the last couple of days, a manufacturing license has been given to an indigenously developed handheld X-ray, which will go a very long way in making sure that we are able to screen our populations for tuberculosis. We have now formalized this into a platform called MedTech Mitra, or Medical Technology Friend. This is guided by Niti Aayog and is a partnership between the Indian Council of Medical Research and the CDSCO, where pre-IND meetings for advice to innovators is given on regulatory strategy, ICMR handholding for preclinical animal studies when required, and clinical trials through our network of clinical trials called Intent, and tens of test licenses and manufacturing licenses has been given in the past 10 months of the existence of this platform. So in short, I'd really like to urge other countries which have industry and innovators, and we need more across the world, to come together, create these partnerships between industry, health research agencies, and the regulator to get more access to affordable medical technologies, not only in India, but all across the world. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you for the insightful message, Dr. Bahel. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now privileged to hear from Dr. Vinod Kumar Paul, a member Niti Aayog. Let's give him a roaring welcome. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Honorable Union Minister of State for Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, respected Madam Anupriya Patel ji, Madam Yuko Nakatani, Dr. Rajiv Bahel, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished participants representing the global drug regulatory system of the world, the leadership in the space of medicines and health technologies, and friends, namaste and a very warm welcome to India, very warm welcome to Delhi. I especially extend the greetings of the leadership of Niti Aayog, the government's arm that I represent, which deals with crafting policy ideas as a think tank and enabler of change. I'm truly honored to address the gathering at the 19th ICDRA. The forum brings together drug regulators, policymakers, and experts from around the world, playing a critical role in shaping global health policy. It symbolizes a collective responsibility to ensure that medicines and healthcare products are safe, effective, affordable, and accessible to all. The dictum, the tagline that you have chosen, medicine is the bridge to the world. Aushadam Jagtaha Setu is very apt indeed. Medicines that save lives, promote health, are truly the bridge and the connector of all of us together, and India has played a very important role in this regard, as we heard. Quality medicines empower public health. Quality medicines protect lives. Quality, affordable medicines improve the quality of life, improve human productivity, and improve the well-being of humanity. So we are in the business of a very important noble cause for humanity. I congratulate you for the role you play in this regard as regulators. Thank you. This year's ICDRA holds special significance not only because it is being hosted by India, but also because it represents a renewed commitment coming after the COVID-19 pandemic and the changing world order to strengthen the global regulatory frameworks. Over the past few days, I understand you have been engaged in fruitful discussions on harmonizing regulatory practices, addressing global health challenges, and embracing innovation in healthcare. Together, we have reinforced the importance of cooperation in improving public health systems and regulatory environments worldwide. As we discuss the future of global health, it's important to align these efforts with India's broader vision of Viksit Bharat, or a developed nation, by 2047, as has been envisioned by the Honorable Prime Minister and has become the rallying point for the entire nation as our quest to be a developed nation when we complete 100 years of our independence in 2047. Our Honorable Prime Minister has set forth an ambitious vision, one that places health at the center of development, with the world's largest health insurance scheme covering half of India's population put together between union and state, major efforts in digital health, a huge expansion of human resources for health, particularly doctors and the specialists and so on. You've been hearing about this. So we are being guided by a visionary Prime Minister who is taking us to the path of development, eradication of poverty, and truly to be amongst developed nations in the next 25 years. But a developed nation has a strong healthcare system. A developed nation has capacity to look after its people and maintain and ensure good health. The vision encompasses, for instance, that India will not only be a $32 trillion economy, but also its population would move from the current life expectancy of about 70 years to more than 85 by the year 2047, and working in that direction, and our endeavor in the space of medicines and medical technologies is a part and parcel of that enabling journey. Humanity's quest for universal health coverage has a special opportunity now, because we are passing through a rapid phase of technology, new technologies and possibilities of huge innovation. And the future healthcare of both India and the world will be driven by technology. It's become obvious. It's becoming increasingly noticeable by the day if you read any newspaper. From digital health solutions to AI-powered drug discovery, we are witnessing a transformation that will shape the next generation of healthcare. India, with its rich talent pool and robust technological infrastructure, and in a way legendary space in digital systems, including digital health, is well positioned to lead and partner this change for the world. Government's initiatives, multiple initiatives in this regard that have been mentioned here, are a testament to the way these technologies are being used for healthcare of India, as well as for the industry that we are concerned with. We are actively integrating technology into our healthcare system. Digital health initiatives, telemedicine platforms, AI-driven drug research are just a few examples. You may recall, you may know, that we used a digital platform called CoWIN, which enabled catalyzing the world's biggest immunization program, namely the COVID-19 vaccination program that covered 2.2 billion doses and vaccinated the entire vulnerable population of India. That platform is now being harnessed for ongoing immunization efforts worldwide, across the life cycle of an individual, and we are ready to share these capabilities with the world. I like to touch upon two important areas. One, in the COVID time, it's important to look back at the COVID times. One, to make a point that India went through a very special phase of how our regulator and our system rose to the occasion. I'm happy to inform you, and you may know it, that India licensed 8 vaccines for use through a proper regulatory process. This included indigenous inactivated vaccine, which was created and within the 9-month period that the other vaccines were created. We were able to start vaccinating and start using this vaccine and another adenoviral vaccine almost 2 or 3 weeks after the vaccination program started in the West. We mastered mRNA vaccine. We created an indigenous mRNA vaccine as well as a DNA vaccine, a nanoparticle vaccine, protein subunit vaccine, nasal vaccine, and so on. We also established facility for Sputnik vaccine, which another country wanted us to scale up. That capacity was also created. Just to make a point that if the technologies come up elsewhere, this vast ecosystem of production is available for us to take it to the world and take it to our nation indeed. It was mentioned that more than 300 indigenous tests became available. Our vaccines were available at a cost of just about $3 or less for the world, not just for India. As we get ready for future health emergencies, particularly infectious disease pandemics, we have to be mindful of the fact that the regulatory lessons in the regulatory space that we learned in the course of COVID-19 within countries and beyond must be examined and must guide our future journey in this regard. And what is important is that in order for us to be able to deliver countermeasures within the first 100 days of a pandemic, a lot of work has to be done now on an ongoing basis. Our new and an enabling regulatory system is not going to be invoked when the pandemic happens. It has to be invoked now so that we are ready to be able to mount an impressive response for outbreaks when the outbreaks strike. And in this regard, we have opportunities to use the same paradigm and deliver solutions for the outbreaks that are raging somewhere in some parts of the world, as we heard from our distinguished speakers from WHO. It relates to Mpox, for example, Ebola, for example, Zika, Nipah from time to time. And therefore, we have a special role to refashion ourselves globally and nationally to be able to take care of these outbreaks to which the response is still not optimum and to be ready for future. I hope you would be considering this important issue in your deliberations. I want to also mention that in the course of the previous pandemic globally, while the vaccines moved, the diagnostics moved, I think we could have done much better for therapeutics. And the same thing applies to our own experience as well. How can therapeutics move faster? In fact, we thought we will get therapeutics before the vaccine, but it happened the other way around, and I'd like us to think about how to improve those pathways. India is also home to a rich heritage of traditional systems of medicine. Our Ayurveda system dates back to 3000 BC, and it continues to be a vibrant system and, in fact, flourishing by the day under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister. It was one of the leading systems of medicines in the world for centuries. There's a potential of thousands of formulations from our traditional system, Ayurveda and others, which may have a place in improving health, protecting lives, saving lives, and improving longevity. Mainstreaming of traditional medicines from all cultures is an imperative for global health and for universal health coverage, and you have an important role to play. 19th ICDRA is a testament to the global commitment to promote health through quality, effective, safe, and accessible medicines and medical technologies. We, I hope, agree that global health is a shared responsibility. India, with its wealth of knowledge, industrial base, technological strength, and experience, and accelerated progress that you've seen in this space in terms of regulatory pathways, as well as advances in our ability to create these products, is truly committed to partner with the world and sharing our regulatory expertise, and above all, the vision of a world that we stand for, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, world is one family. We're ready to share the vision of the world that India stands for, namely a place where no one is left behind in healthcare due to lack of medicines. I wish you grand success in this meeting, in this conference, and we hope that this will be an inflection point for a much improved regulatory system for drugs and health technologies for the world and humanity. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for your inspiring message. Ladies and gentlemen, now it gives me immense pleasure and honor to invite Madam Anupriya Patel, Minister of State, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India, to please address our audience. Welcome, Madam.
Dr. V.K. Paul, Member Niti Aayog, ADG WHO, Madam Yukiko Nakatani, DG ICMR, Dr. Rajiv Behel, Deputy Commissioner, USFDA, Kimberly Trechiak, Country Representative, WHO, Dr. Rodrigo H. Offrin, Drugs Controller General of India, Dr. Rajiv Raghuvanshi, Dr. Rogerio Gasper, Director WHO, Hiti Silo, the Unit Head of WHO, and distinguished delegates from various drug regulatory agencies from more than 120 member states. A very good morning, namaskar, and a very warm welcome. It is an honor to stand before you today at the 19th International Conference of the Drug Regulatory Authorities, a platform that brings together regulators, leaders, and policy makers in the areas of regulation from across the globe to discuss various vital issues in healthcare, aiming towards quality, safety, efficacy, and affordability of medicines, vaccines, and medical devices, including diagnostics, to the global population. Ladies and gentlemen, our theme for this conference is smart regulation. Smart regulation envisages building trust and confidence, promoting transparency and accountability, and greater reliance on each other through effective and efficient regulation. And hence, the conference today is crucial in sharing knowledge, building partnerships, and working in harmonization to ensure safe and effective medicines for everyone in every part of the world. How well we are doing in regulation can lead to better health outcomes for people all over the world. In India, the new regulations published in the areas of clinical trial as New Drugs in Clinical Trials Rules 2019, as well as the Medical Devices Rules 2017, have promoted scientific and ethical research at par with the global expectations and international practices. The medical device rules include risk-based base classification, bringing all devices under regulation through registration and framing regulatory pathways. There is a robust pre-approval as well as post-approval regulatory procedure for all the medical devices, the diagnostics managing product life cycles, which indicate a robust control. We are also collaborating globally with international organizations like the International Medical Devices Regulators Forum, the WHO, the ISO, and the regional network like the Southeast Asia Regulatory Network to harmonize regulatory requirements in the area of medical devices and diagnostics. You would be happy to learn that India has been recently recognized as the affiliate member of the IMDRF. The recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia by the Pharmacopoeial Discussion Group is another milestone, marking the harmonization and recognition of the regulatory standards. The revised Schedule M, which has been published and is aligned with the WHO requirements of the GMP for various products, including biologicals and investigational products, further establish the harmonization goal. And this, coupled with e-governance for all regulatory procedures, have established good regulatory practices for medical products in India. Friends, WHO's efforts in upgrading the regulatory systems of different countries is absolutely laudable. It is praiseworthy how they develop and use the benchmarking tools not just to assess, but also help the countries upgrade their regulatory systems for healthcare components like drugs, vaccines, and medical devices. Further, the way WHO promotes partnerships, reliance, experiential learning, pharmacovigilance systems, anti-counterfeiting technologies, monitoring systems, reductions in the use of animal experimentation also deserves a word of appreciation. What is important is the model of collaboration, deliberation, and inclusive decision making that is bringing all the stakeholders together for the best possible outcome. India, and I'm sure many other countries here, have been benefited by the capacity building activities of the WHO. They bring the best-in-class resources from the world over as resources for these programs and has promoted knowledge, skill, and partnerships to deal with difficult healthcare issues facing the world. It is very heartening to see how India is working very closely with WHO in contributing to many of these areas. Hosting ICDRA, my friends, is a demonstration of our intent and commitment towards global public health. Government of India, under the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, is dedicated to improving healthcare for all its citizens. Our aim is to attain universal health coverage. His vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat emphasizes achieving self-reliance in healthcare. And we are focused on building a strong healthcare system that meets the need of India's huge population. We have programs like Ayushman Bharat, which ensure health assurance, the secondary and tertiary level healthcare facilities to over 500 million people. And recently, we have extended this health assurance to all citizens in India who are above 70 years of age. There is a massive scale-up of health infrastructure in the country, an enhancement in the number of medical practitioners, and this shows our commitment to making healthcare is a right for everyone and not just a privilege. as we work towards the vision of a Viksit Bharat, which is a developed India, by 2047, when India completes 100 years of its independence, we recognize that health is the foundation of our growth. And a healthy population leads to a thriving nation. Prime Minister Modi believes that when our people are healthy, we can achieve greatness together. And our approach to healthcare is guided by the philosophy of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, which sees the world as one family. And this has been depicted in India's effort during COVID-19 pandemic, when we extended a helping hand by supplying medicines and vaccines to more than 100 countries across the globe. We believe that everyone, regardless of where they come from, deserve access to good health care. And this is why, my dear friends, our discussion at ICDRA are so important. We have faith and a strong belief that together we can find solutions to global health challenges and ensure that no one is left behind. We're also enthusiastic about how artificial intelligence is changing the face of healthcare. AI can assist us in making quicker decisions, enhancing patient care, and speeding up research. And by adopting new technologies, we can offer improved services to our people and achieve better health results. In conclusion, let us take this opportunity to work together for a healthier future. ICDRA is not just a conference, but it is a golden opportunity for us to collaborate, innovate, and support one another in our shared mission for better health outcomes for one and all. Thank you all for your attention. I wish this conference a huge success. I hope you have meaningful and engaging discussions ahead. And before I conclude, I also do hope that since each one of you has traveled from far-off places in the world, you also find some time, steal some moments to go around and take a glimpse of this historic city of Delhi. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Madam. Thank you, Honorable Minister Madam, for sharing your inspiring and enlightening words and for walking us through the enhancements in healthcare, global health challenges, AI in healthcare, and lots more. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we move further, and it gives me immense pleasure to move towards the ceremonial flag handover segment. And I would like to invite Madam Rita Purcell, Deputy Chief Executive, HPRA, Ireland. Welcome, Madam. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Can we have the flag, please?
Honourable Minister of State, distinguished dignitaries and fellow regulators, this morning I was delighted to share some memories of ICDRA in Ireland, and now I'm at the formal stage of handing over the baton to our Indian hosts, but it's not a baton, it's a flag, and this is part of an ICDRA tradition.
Ladies and gentlemen, now Madam Rita will be handing over the flag to Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, the Drug Control, Commissioner General of India, CDSCO. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as we witness the ceremonial flag handover from ICDRA to CDSCO. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, as every good thing comes to an end, so has this beautiful and eventful inaugural session of the 19th ICDRA. And on that note, it gives me immense pleasure and privilege as well as honor on behalf of the entire CDSCO team. I would like to thank our Honorable Minister Madam for taking out time from their busy schedule and gracing the occasion with their presence. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Madam. We now have a beautiful curated agenda for all, and we shall deep dive into the technical sessions. Before that, I request all our dignitaries to please step forward for a group photograph along with Madam. All the dignitaries. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you again, madam, for taking out time from your busy schedule for the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, on that note, we now have a beautiful curated agenda for all of you. But as we start, I request our honorable dignitaries on the dais to please occupy the floor. As we deep dive into the technical sessions for today's scientific agenda, ladies and gentlemen, I would take the honor to invite Hitty Silo, Unit Head Regulation and Safety, WHO Switzerland, and our regional WHO panelists to please share the consolidated report from the WHO, followed by panel discussion involving all the WHO regional leaders, as well as advisors.